VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And welcome to our Friday News Roundup on Crosstalk today, compiling many stories from throughout the course of this week, many different sources. And we're so grateful for Sandy downloading so many of these, pulling stories together for us on the broadcast today. So grateful for Molly here on the phones, and we've got Dennis in the control room and our team here at VCY America. We're so grateful. We're grateful for you, the listeners, tuning in each and every day here to Crosstalk. And do we need to commend you for helping us with this Central Asia Missionary Project. The project is now over. It is now complete. But I would just like to report to you that it looks like the total is at $46,041.55. Praise the Lord. So many of you participated from all across this country in helping to reach people in Central Asia that you will never meet this side of eternity. And it's done through not only relief supplies, but also that opens the door for the gospel to go in. Tim Lar was with us here in Crosstalk, and what a blessing it was to hear from him. Previously, we had mailed a check for $15,000, then a check for $16,000. Today's mail marks another check for $15,000. And again, the project is now over, but I just wanted to report back to you and thank you for your efforts to reach others with the good news of the gospel. Again, people you'll never meet the side of eternity, but how grand it will be one day to hear such testimonies coming from people who've met the Savior as a result of your caring support. Thank you so very much. Well, friends, we do have lots of troubling news we're going to share with you today. It's not to discourage us. I trust it encourages us to be ambassadors for Christ. That's what we're told in 2 Corinthians 5:20. Now then, ye are ambassadors for Christ. We are to be his representatives here upon this earth. And we've got an earth, a nation, a world in great need, great spiritual need. And it really behooves us to be a light shining in a very, very dark world. And that will be very evident in our program today. But again, it's not to cause us to curl up in a ball or hide under the blankets. Rather, it's to help us understand the importance of letting our light so shine before men and taking the gospel to a world in great need. I'm going to begin today with a story here on the shutdown, and Daily Caller puts it the longest government shutdown in American history ended with the stroke of a pen by President Donald Trump in the Oval Office on Wednesday night. President Trump signed a spending package into law, funding the government through the end of January, which is concluding this 43-day standoff with the Democrats. Some of the aspects of government, though, are funded through the full fiscal year. But even as that signing was taking place, President Trump had this statement in part. It spoke longer than this, but here's part of what he had to say.
They didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics cause will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country.
Well, the signing ceremony immediately followed the House of Representatives approving a Senate-passed funding package during a vote of 222 to 209, largely along party lines, but some Democrats did join the Republicans for this. Democrats are leaving the shutdown fight without having their chief demand met, which was an extension of the enhanced Obamacare premium tax credit. Newsmax.com is reporting that members of Congress collected more than $20,000 apiece during the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. That is even as millions of Americans went without pay and essential services. The White House estimates the shutdown inflicted roughly $15 billion in weekly economic damage, with 60,000 private sector jobs lost. While 1.3 million active duty service members, over 750,000 Guard and Reserve troops, and roughly 1.4 million federal workers faced furloughs or worked without pay, lawmakers continued receiving their constitutionally protected salaries. This is why some lawmakers said, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We should not be getting paid if other federal workers are not. And they've advanced some legislation. I guess we'll see if that goes anywhere. But we understand all affected federal personnel will now receive back pay following the president's signing of the legislation. Western Journal is reporting that leftists, including some elected officials, reacted with rage Monday after 8 Senate Democrats caved to Senate Republicans by agreeing to vote to end this lengthy government shutdown. And while Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer didn't appear to be directly responsible, as it seemed the aide had negotiated a deal behind his back, the blame for the massive concession, though, was still flowing his way. Despite voting against the deal, Chuck Schumer is emerging as the top target for not containing the defections, Axios confirmed. Schumer is voting no, a senior House Democrat told the outlet, but that doesn't mean a primary challenge is not coming. The deal reached by the 8 Senate Democrats reportedly include a promise that the Senate Republicans would eventually allow a vote on their colleagues' bill to permanently extend COVID-era Obamacare subsidies. Newsmax is reporting that paychecks to the federal workers reportedly will begin going out tomorrow. According to a memo received by Semaphore, the Trump administration has laid out an agency-by-agency plan to issue back pay to hundreds of thousands of employees who went without the checks. The document says pay will start going out this weekend with the goal of completing the first round of payments by November 19th. The Epoch Times reporting Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said that the full SNAP benefits, that's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, would be restored by Monday, November 17th. Also, from Newsmax, the SNAP benefits are rife with fraud and abuse. This was said by the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, and appearing on the Rob Schmidt Tonight program, Rollins discussed the SNAP data that the U.S. Department of Agriculture received from some 29 states. This is astounding.
And 20 plus others did not, and we're suing. We're in a litigation right now. But of the 29 that complied, what we have found is staggering. 500,000 people getting benefits 2 times under the same name. 5,000 dead people. 80% of the able-bodied Americans, meaning they can work, they don't have small children at home, they're not taking care of an elderly parent, they can work and they choose not to work, of course, because they're getting significant benefits from the taxpayer. So this light, Laura, that has now been shined on what is perhaps one of the most corrupt, dysfunctional programs in American history, that we are working now. Very big announcements coming next week on this. We are cracking down. We now have a plan to fix it, and we're really, really excited about doing that for the American people.
Secretary Rollins said that her department found a person who was using the same Social Security number received 6 different EBT cards in 6 different states. She said that the president has made this a priority. We will fix this program. The Epoch Times reporting that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem handed out $10,000 bonus checks November 13th to thousands of frontline TSA officers who stayed on the job during the shutdown. About 47,000 agents who worked through the 43-day shutdown despite not getting paychecks will be awarded a bonus along with back pay. That's according to the secretary. You know what's interesting as well? One of those that first defected from the Senate as far as the shutdown was concerned was Senator Fetterman out of Pennsylvania. And he has been certainly taking a lot of heat. And he's got a new book out as well called Unfettered. And he surprised Dana Bash on CNN Wednesday while explaining how much crueler the political left has treated him in the political than the political right. Here's what he had to say.
You said, quote, "I've drunk deeply of the venom of both the left and the right. As a connoisseur, I can confirm that the most poisonous, the bitterest, is from the far left. That is pretty remarkable to hear you say that as an elected Democrat. Why?
No. It's just been my personal experience on this thing. And when I asked my digital team, I said, we're on all the platforms. Really, what's kind of the harshest? What's kind of the most personal? And the answer was immediate. He said, "Oh, blue sky. It's blue sky." And the difference is, the right would say really rough things and names. Some names I won't repeat on TV, but the on the left, it was like they want me to die, or that we're cheering for your next stroke, or that's terrible that depression won. Why couldn't it depression won? And I hope your kids find you. They even have like the graphic, a GIF where they have like a stroke, in your head, cheering at that. Yeah, and they said that. I remember one. They claimed, the doctor let us down, and why did they have to save his life? Just really, I just can't imagine. People are wishing, I wish he dies, or I want him to die. Literally cheering for a stroke. And I don't know what the kind of a place where that comes from. That's much different than just calling me a name. That's really been consistent. In that community online.
Interesting. Senator Fetterman on CNN talking about the vicious left. And he's from the left. He's from the Democratic Party. But yet the attacks against him, the viciousness, so much more severe. Interesting. Well, friends, sadly, there is news coming out here today about something that was slipped into that bill that terminated the shutdown. And this story now from Fox News. The House is expected to vote next week on repealing a controversial measure in the bill that ended the shutdown. It caused heartburn for House Republicans in the final days of the shutdown and provided fresh ammo for Democrats hoping to delay their federal funding legislation in its final hours. But the provision, tucked into the legislative branch appropriations bill and dubbed requiring Senate notification for Senate data, would allow senators directly targeted in former special counsel Jack Smith's Arctic frost investigation to sue the U.S. government for up to $500,000. House Appropriations Committee Chair Tom Cole, who was involved in crafting part of the successful funding deal, told Fox News Digital he had even been afraid it could derail the final vote to end the shutdown. So we'll see if they take that up to repeal that matter as well. From religionnews.com, New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani spoke unapologetically after his Muslim faith and democratic socialist roots during his victory speech on election night, in a sharp rebuke to the Islamophobic attacks that he faced during the campaign. Political experts say his historic win may motivate more Muslims and younger progressives to seek and attain those halls of power. The political consultant Salima Suswell said Mamdani definitely has invigorated many Muslims around civic participation. CARE estimates that at least 37 other Muslim Americans won in elections November 4th, including the Virginia Lieutenant Governor, Dearborn, Michigan Mayor, and others as well. We'll be back with more of our Roundup after the break. You're listening to Crosstalk.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, president of the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, the pterosaurs were flying reptiles, but were they good flyers or not?
Chris, it's hard to know because we've never seen one fly. We do see their skeletal remains, and some of them were absolutely huge. How could they have flown? A scientific study of some of their skulls has given us some clues. That portion of the brain which integrates input from the different sensory organs was large in the pterosaurs, much larger than in other creatures. This gives us the impression that the creature was a good flyer. Of course, evolutionists propose that all these functions and organs came about by natural selection. What could have given some non-flying creature this ability? A much better idea is that God created these huge creatures as a monument to his creative ability and imagination. Today, we just sit back and marvel. And it's been that way ever since, back in Genesis.
This is Chris O'Brien. Thanks for going back to Genesis.
It's a news roundup and comment Friday here on VCY America's Crosstalk program. Thank you for listening. We were just talking about the mayoral win in New York City for Mr. Mamdani. And what's interesting, this from Jihad Watch, in the wake of his win, Muslims are claiming New York for Islam. A quote here from one posting on social media. We're done hiding. We're done. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of Islam, and we will not stop until it enters every home. I want to hear it in every single district. Also, it's interesting that the Muslim former leader of Scotland spoke to, saying to the Mamdani supporters, saying this is Hamza Yousaf, former leader of Scotland, had come and he said, "You are not guest of the West, you are building the West." He told the room of Mamdani's record-breaking election just 24 hours, within 24 hours of that win. But you are not guest of the West, you are building the West. Sounds reminiscent of what Usama Dakdak has warned us here on Crosstalk. From resistthemainstream.com, the city of Ithaca, New York, made history this week by electing a 20-year-old member of the Communist Party USA to public office. That would actually be the election week. Hannah Schvetz, a sophomore at Cornell University and student organizer, secured a victory in the 5th Ward race for Ithaca Common Council. Her win came days after Mamdani's mayoral victory. At 20 years old, Schvetz became one of the youngest members ever elected to the Ithaca Common Council and the youngest candidate endorsed by the Democratic Socialist of America to win office nationwide. Friends, this is energizing many in Democratic Socialist America to get engaged in the 2026 elections. By the way, that's less than 12 months away, that election day. Here from the Seattle Times, Katie Wilson, elected Seattle's next mayor, a staple of Seattle's progressive politics, who for years toiled behind the scenes of City Hall in pursuit of higher taxes on Amazon and stronger regulations for renters, the city's 58th mayor. They're just having gone through some counting, and she appears to have the edge. She would be the city's most vocally progressive mayor since Mike McGinn, elected in 2009, having run her campaign on taxing corporations and spending aggressively to scale up temporary housing for the homeless. Also, friends, so far, as we talk about next year's election, so far there are 47 members of Congress that are not seeking re-election. Congressional midterms will be held November 3rd, 2026. That's when every member of the House of Representatives is up for election. There's also 35 seats in the Senate. 13 are currently held by Democrats. 20 are held by Republicans. And the 47 members of Congress are not seeking re-election. That's the highest number in recent years. Some are retiring from politics altogether. Others are running for other political offices, either in state offices or in the U.S. Senate. But this is very notable, as just over 10% so far have announced that they are not seeking re-election. Not too early to be praying for elections of 2026. Okay, this coming from the Western Journal, Representative Jasmine Crockett, who was appearing on the Democracy Docket podcast hosted by Mark Elias, the Democratic Party attorney, is currently he's been on a topic on how Donald Trump is already trying to steal the 2026 election. Remember Bill Federer talking about the word projection on Crosstalk? Well, now Representative Crockett is warning that President Trump is going to try and rig the voting machines. I thought that was nothing but a conspiracy theory. Well, here's what Jasmine Crockett had to say on this podcast, Democracy Docket.
We do know that one of his friends has purchased Dominion. So it's going to be really important for us to educate all states that we can to make sure that their Secretary of States are like, we don't want the Dominion machines, because I personally believe that ally purchased Dominion so that he could potentially play with the machines, because we know that they're trying to cheat by changing the lines for the midterms. And I think that they're trying to solidify their cheat potentially with the voting machines.
Okay. Well, I don't think she mentioned anything about California's redistricting. Did she, or did I just miss that? Oh, well, let me move on. The New York Post here is reporting that NYPD exodus is already underway, with the surge of officers quitting in the month leading up to Mamdani's mayoral win. And more might go if the police commissioner Jessica Tisch exits, according to data and department sources. NYPD saw a 35% hike in officers of all ranks leaving in October. That's 245 police officers. Morale is down because everyone is concerned about the policies Mamdani wants to put in place, said Detectives Endowment Association President Scott Monroe. You have a person who's supposed to be running New York City that does not believe in law enforcement, said Monroe. What's coming out of everybody's mouth is, we're in trouble. Breitbart reporting that the New York mayor-elect, his longtime chief advisor, El Biscard Church, reportedly wants to make huge changes to policing in the Big Apple. She led a campaign proposal to send social workers to address certain nonviolent 911 calls across the city. Mamdani has previously called to dismantle the New York City Police Department, and in October suggested that mental health experts should respond to crimes instead of police officers. I guess we'll see how that one works, or should I say not work once again. Haven't we seen that before? Cities that have gone through the defund the police movements only to find their cities just decline into corruption and violence. Liberty Nation News is reporting that New York's governor, Kathy Hochul, not a fan of Mamdani's, but promises, not a fan of his promise to offer free buses. And while she claims to support making public transit more affordable, she would not back a plan that removes such a large revenue source from the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, known as MTA, and as a result cannot set forth a plan right now that takes money out of a system that relies on the fares of the buses and the subways, Hochul said. But can we find a path to make it more affordable for people who need help? Of course we can. But she's putting the brakes on the free bus issue. Daily Caller reporting that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey drew conservative outrage after delivering part of his victory speech in Somali following his third-term win. He spoke for nearly a minute in Somali to a group of supporters, thanking them repeatedly in their native language before switching to English. The Paul Saispula said that Mayor Jacob Frey he won re-election, spoke almost a minute in Somalia, and then said Minneapolis belongs to Somalia. Coming from Jihad Watch, the Hamas-linked Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, managed to secure the release of a UK-based pro-Hamas speaker and journalist, Sami Hamdi, who told a mosque to celebrate the victory days after the October 7th jihad attack from federal immigration detention. Let's see here. Liberty Nation News reporting it's being described as a vote that could have vast economic ramifications in California's largest city. Los Angeles strengthened its rent stabilization law for the first time in 40 years Wednesday, setting a 4% ceiling on annual rent increases for a massive portion of the city's housing stock, the LA Times reported. This is a historic vote by the council to help set rents for decades to come for tenants who live in units built before 1978. From the Epic Times, Ford has some 5,000 job openings for mechanics, offering a six-figure salary, a sign of skilled manual labor shortage facing the United States, the company's CEO Jim Farley said in a November 12th interview. He said, we have over 1 million openings in critical jobs, emergency services, trucking, factory workers, plumbers, electricians, and tradesmen. It's a very serious thing. We do not have trade schools. According to the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were 409,000 manufacturing job openings in the United States as of August. In the trade, transportation, and utility sector, 1.14 million job openings, while the construction sector had 188,000 jobs unfulfilled. He said we're in trouble in our country when it comes to the essential economy. Those who are just have no desire to go to work, there's jobs waiting. And many are in trades, and that's why many are going to tech schools at this point. And while there's openings in the economy, friends, there is much opening by way of Christian service. There are many pulpits that are needing pastors today. There are many mission fields that are needing missionaries. The fields are indeed white unto harvest. There are Christian schools that are needing Christian school teachers. And perhaps you're listening today, you would utter that prayer, Lord, how can I best serve you? Let's go to frontpagemag.com, and this is the grand opening ceremony of a sprawling 150,000 square foot milestone for the global Shia Ismaili Muslim community, and a transformative addition to the city's cultural landscape opened in Houston. This Ismaili Center, Houston, it's said to be an architecturally grand culture and religious space, one of only 7 worldwide. Has completed construction, open to the public this next month. This is a branch of Shia Islam who are guided by hereditary Imam, Prince Rahim Aga Khan V, who succeeded his father in February, believed to be a direct descendant of Muhammad. The Imam leads a community of millions across more than 70 countries, and now a sprawling 150,000 square foot Islamic center opening in Houston, Texas. NewsNationNow.com, Americans with lower credit scores are falling behind on their car payments at the highest level in decades. A record 6.65% of subprime auto loans are at least 60 days past due in October, largest share in data going back to 1993, according to Fitch Ratings. That's up 3.76 from 4 years ago. The increase suggests more borrowers, particularly those in riskier credit tiers, are struggling to keep up to total household debt, climbing to $18.6 trillion. Just the News reporting the Justice Department has launched an investigation into violent protest at a Turning Point USA event Monday at the University of California, Berkeley. Attorney General Pam Bondi has attributed the violence to groups affiliated with the anti-right-wing political movement known as Antifa. At least 8 people were arrested during the event. It was the final stop on Turning Point USA's national campus tour. And that just transpired this past Monday. Okay, from Worthy News, a group of Hamas fighters trapped inside tunnels on the Israeli-controlled side of the Rafah ceasefire line have vowed not to surrender to Israeli forces. The Al-Qassam brigades announced Sunday in a move that could jeopardize the fragile month-old ceasefire in Gaza. In a statement released early Sunday, the military wing of Hamas said that its fighters were defending themselves within an area now under IDF control, rejecting any notion of surrender and calling on international mediators to intervene. Also, Worthy News is reporting the U.S. on Thursday urged the UN Security Council to support Washington's draft resolution establishing an international stabilization force to secure post-war Gaza and guide the territory into a future free from Hamas. The measure is a central pillar of President Trump's broader Middle East framework, has been crafted with input from Qatar, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the UAE. And we understand this for the first time, a UN Security Council text tied to the ISF explicitly references the possibility of a future Palestinian state. We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY.
The one book that's been credited as one of the major catalysts for the modern creationist movement is The Genesis Flood, authored by Dr. John Whitcomb and Dr. Henry Morris. More than 60 years ago, these two men joined together to write a controversial book that sparked dialogue and debate on Darwin, Jesus, science, the Bible, evolution, creation, and gave birth to the modern creation science movement. While skeptics cast doubt upon the authenticity of a universal flood, the Genesis Flood places before the reader the theological and scientific basis for a literal acceptance of the biblical account. This book provides illustrations, charts, diagrams, and sound documentation that harmonizes science with biblical truth. The Genesis Flood is available for a donation of $30 or more to VCY America. Call 1-800-729-9829.
Well, it's a news roundup and comment day here on Crosstalk. As most often as we can, we try to do this on a Friday in order to keep you informed and bring together so much of the week's news as matters continue to unfold. Lord willing, this coming Monday, we'll be joined by Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. He'd been on the road traveling this week, but we'll have him talk further about the U.S. Supreme Court declining to take the Kim Davis case. He'll have information on that and many other other pieces of information coming up, Lord willing, next week on Crosstalk. We do invite you to stay tuned. Gatestone Institute is reporting that while President Trump and his administration are working hard to bring peace to the Middle East and disarm terror groups, the Iranian regime and its proxies are doing their utmost to ensure that their jihad to destroy Israel continues in full force. The Iranian regime is evidently afraid of losing its terror proxies, Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the Gaza, and Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen. And these terror groups, whose primary goal is to eliminate Israel, have suffered some severe blows over the past 2 years. Although Iran's terror proxies have been weakened, they're trying to rise from the ashes with the help of their patrons in Tehran as part of their effort to foil the Gaza peace plan and attempt to persuade more Arab and Islamic countries to join the Abraham Accords with Israel. Representatives of the Iran-backed terror groups attended a conference in Beirut for the first week of November, organized by a group called the Arab National Conference, attended by more than 250 Arab political culture and resistance figures. The ANC Secretary General emphasized the need to counter narratives of Arab defeat. The nation has won and the day of Palestinians' liberation is near, he said. By the way, Fox News reporting that Iran is facing its worst drought in decades, raising fears of evacuations in Tehran while threatening the regime's stability and nuclear ambitions. That's according to a leading environmental expert. Let's see. Let's hit another issue here today. Oh, this one from the Western Journal. Wednesday, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of California dropped a bombshell news release stating that Dana Williamson, that was Governor Newsom's chief of staff from 2022 to 2024, has been indicted on a litany of charges. The 53-year-old Williamson has been charged by a federal grand jury with conspiracy to commit fraud and that's bank and wire fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud the U.S. and obstruct justice, subscribing to false tax returns, making false statements, the DOJ announced. Some 23 counts, indictments against the individual. Daily Caller is reporting that the BBC Thursday, well, they've apologized to President Donald Trump for this panorama documentary that stitched parts together from January 6, 2021, in which they suggested that he advocated violence. We played that clip just a couple of weeks ago here on Crosstalk. But the BBC chair, Samir Shah, said he sent a personal letter to the White House conveying the apology and confirmed the film would not be shown again on any BBC platform. The president had threatened a $1 billion lawsuit unless the BBC retracts, apologizes, and compensates him. And while the BBC sincerely regrets the manner in which the video clip was edited, we strongly disagree this is a basis for a defamation claim, the corporation has said. Epoch Times reporting President Donald Trump on November 11th has defended his plan to offer 600,000 visas to Chinese students. He told Laura Ingraham, "We do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. If we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the U.S. go out of business. I think that's a big deal." He said the plan was aimed not at China, but at the international students from around the world more broadly, and his thinking comes from a business perspective, certainly not a security perspective, not from an intelligence perspective. He said, "We take in trillions of dollars from students. You know, the students pay more than double when they come in from foreign countries. I want to see our school system thrive." But many are asking the question, is this the way to do it? Epoch Times reporting the U.S. Supreme Court decided November 10th to consider a challenge to a federal law that blocks states from counting mail-in ballots that officials receive after Election Day. So the court has granted the petition in Watson versus Republican National Committee in an unsigned order November 10th. No justices dissented, so we will find out what happens. They agreed to decide on this case, so oral arguments happening at another time. Daily Caller reporting the International Olympic Committee is expected to ban men identifying as women from competing in female events before the next games, the Times reported on Monday. LifeSiteNews.com, a trans-identifying male TSA officer at the Dulles International Airport is suing for the right to pat down female travelers, according to a lawsuit filed on Friday. The individual is alleging that his lawsuit at the Transportation Security Administration, which operates under Homeland Security, is violating his civil rights. The TSA spokesman, Russell Reed, told the Associated Press that it is now policy that male TSA will pat down procedures on male passengers, and female Transportation Secretary officials will conduct pat-down procedures on female passengers based on operational needs. But this individual is alleging that this is sex discrimination. National Review reporting Catholic bishops voted Wednesday to ban gender-affirming care from Catholic hospitals in the U.S., formalizing the church's opposition to hormonal and surgical procedures intended to change an individual's outward appearance to resemble that of the opposite sex. From the Times, one of the largest branches of the German Protestant Church has defended a pastor after she blessed a relationship between 4 men and called the ceremony a marriage in the eyes of God. The Polycule attended a pop-up wedding festival at the St. Paul the Apostle Church in Berlin as part of a program offering free blessings for couples who wish to avoid lengthy formalities. Lena Mueller, the youth pastor for Berlin and Brandenburg region of the Protestant Church, said the relationship had consisted of 2 Latvians, a Thai citizen, and a 4th man she believed was Spanish. Mueller said the men had spoken English with one another, seemed radiantly happy together. You could see right away there was so much love between them, she said. Why would God have anything against there being 4 of them rather than 2? While same-sex marriage was legalized in Germany 8 years ago, polygamy remains against the law, and it is not possible for more than 2 people to enter a civil partnership. However, Mueller said she had blessed the polyamorous relationship as though it were a wedding. LifeSiteNews.com reporting a gender-confused high school teacher has been suspended after posting an image of a rainbow-colored gun pointed at someone's head with the caption, quote, "Put the pronouns back in the email." According to the College Fix, the educator who goes by the name Sabrina Morris has been put on leave after posting the threat posting this threat of violence. LifeSiteNews.com also reports that the first openly transgender lawmaker elected in U.S. history has pleaded guilty to child abuse charges in a Boston courtroom last week. This is Barry Lawton, otherwise known as Stacey Marie, a former Democrat state rep in New Hampshire, admitted to involvement in the creation of child sexual abuse material, previously indicted on 3 counts of child exploitation in the fall of 2023. We understand that sentencing will happen in February, and facing 30 years in prison, possible $250,000 fine, a lifetime of supervised release, reports KATU ABC 2. Okay, let's go to Massachusetts next. Daily Caller. Massachusetts State Police arrested 56 people across 38 communities last week during Operation Firewall, a 3-day crackdown on child sex abuse material and related crime. Troopers executed 34 residential search warrants and seized 229 devices during the operation. Suspects ranged in age from 18 to 75. The arrested individuals now face charges pertaining to alleged child pornography possession, child enticement, assault and battery of a child, rape of a child, and failure to register with the Sex Offender Registry Board. Let's take a look at some other cases here. Yes, a federal judge, this from lifenews.com, a federal judge has thrown out a lawsuit filed by the Satanic Temple challenging Idaho's abortion ban, delivering a major victory for the state's pro-life protections. The ruling rejected claims that the law violates the group's religious rights. LifeNews.com also reporting that Florida's Attorney General has launched a sweeping lawsuit against Planned Parenthood, accusing the nation's largest abortion company of deceptive advertising that downplays the severe risk of chemical abortion pills. The lawsuit could potentially cost the pro-abortion organization up to $350 million in penalties. The 37-page complaint that was filed under the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act targets Planned Parenthood's claims that the abortion drug mifepristone is safer than Tylenol. State officials allege the assertions are not only false, but they have endangered women's lives, fueled billions in profits for the group with a staggering 500% profit margin on the pills. So very troubling indeed what is taking place there. Let's see. We also have in the area of life-related news, so here we have the abortion pill promoted so much by Planned Parenthood. This from lifenews.com. A doctor at the University of Toledo Medical Center has been suspended from practicing medicine in Ohio. The man allegedly used the personal information of his estranged wife to order abortion pills by mail. And the claim is that he forcibly held down his pregnant girlfriend and forced her to consume the crushed-up abortion pills against her will. Well, the State Medical Board of Ohio suspended the medical license of Dr. Hassan James Abbas, finding him to be a danger to the public, you think? Well, at this time, there have been no criminal charges filed against him, according to available reports. And according to lifenews.com, do not yet know if the woman's baby had survived this assault. LifeNews.com, Zoran Mamdani is now the mayor-elect of New York City and during campaign vowed to protect New Yorkers from pro-life pregnancy centers, which he accused of spreading false or deceptive information. His threat refers directly to Compass Care. We've talked with Pastor Jim Harden before with us here on the program, and Compass Care runs the only 3 pro-life medical pregnancy centers in all of New York City. His threat mimics the lawsuit brought by 2 pro-abortion activist Letitia James, New York's Attorney General, who endorsed Mamdani's mayoral bid. JustTheNews.com reports Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, in its super PAC on Wednesday, announced plans to collectively spend some $80 million in the 2026 midterm elections on pro-life candidates in at least 4 battleground states. And evidently they're really focusing in on 4 Senate battleground states, with competitive House races as well: Georgia, Iowa, Michigan, and North Carolina. LifeSiteNews.com, an annual number of embryonic human beings killed in the in vitro fertilization process now substantially exceeds the number of babies killed yearly by abortion. Think about that, friends. More babies killed through the IVF process than through abortion. According to the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology, most recent annual report on the use of IVF and similar technologies, 2023 saw the number of babies born through IVF rise to 95,860 in the U.S., and the total number of IVF cycles performed rise to 432,641. Live Action ran the numbers based on the averages of excess embryos created and discarded by the process and estimated that a staggering over 1.9 million embryos who did not survive to be implanted. Another 1.7 plus million were either frozen, destroyed, donated to research, or released for embryo adoption. By contrast, the pro-abortion Guttmacher Institute puts the number of abortions in 2023 at 1,037,880. Friends, we're going to take a quick break, but I'd like to open phone lines if you'd like to comment on these or other current event stories. Our phone number to Crosstalk today is 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. This is Crosstalk coming your way from the VCY American Network.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. Last week on my radio broadcast, a young man from Michigan called in. His name is Drew. And he went on to describe how he's an attorney. So he's someone who's gone to college, he's gone to law school, he's someone that knows how to collect information and data together. But he said that he stumbled on our broadcast. I think he was providentially led to our broadcast. And there he heard me lay out the clear gospel, just what's in the Bible. And he believed and was saved. Then he laid out in a lengthy email to me over the weekend all the remarkable things the Lord has done for him, his children, his wife. But he thanked us because there are so many gospels out there, so many people that are adding to the gospel, taking away from the gospel, making the gospel so confusing. I hope this encourages you to preach what Jesus preached. All who desire may come. All. Preach the gospel to everyone. There are people eager to hear it. I'm Brandon House.
Yesterday on Crosstalk, we had Mark Krikorian on, and we talked about the startling revelation that some 17,000 commercial driver's licenses to illegal, those who had them illegal in California, were given. Well, the story today from the Associated Press is that California has revoked now 17,000 commercial driver's licenses for immigrants. A very interesting matter that has unfolded there in the state of California. Okay, let's, by the way, our number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. Let's go to our friend Alice in Arkansas. Hi, Alice, you're on the air.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I'd like to talk about New York City, America, and the world becoming so terribly Islamic. Jesus Christ died once for all. May God have mercy on these people that are being so deceived. And it certainly does look like we better get ready for persecution. I want to be faithful unto the end. And the good news is God is on the throne. He still has perfect control.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Thank you, Alice. And appreciate that perspective. And friends, God is in control. And what he has before ordained is indeed going to come to pass. She talked about the persecution. And friends, even as we've talked with the likes of Todd Nettleton, the Voice of the Martyrs, and we'll have another program coming up in December here with Door of Hope International as well. The troubling story that no doubt you've heard by this time, but this one from CBN, about another 25 Christians have been gruesomely murdered in the last 12 days as the ongoing genocide in Nigeria continues. Nigeria is one of the most dangerous places in the world to be a Christian. That's according to Open Doors 2025 World Watch List. In a recent report, the organization noted that of the 4,476 Christians killed recently for their faith worldwide, 3,100 of them, or 69%, took place in Nigeria. And so, again, a reminder to be praying for the persecuted church. And, friends, this story also this week from the Christian Post of two Christian missionaries who were killed in a plane crash as they sought to provide aid to Jamaica following Hurricane Melissa are being remembered for their compassion and empathy as an investigation into the cause of the crash continues. The ministry Ignite the Fire announced in a Facebook post this past Monday that its founder, Alexander Worm, and his daughter, Serena, were killed in a plane crash in Coral Springs, Florida. The two were the only passengers on board the plane that were traveling from Florida to Jamaica in order to offer relief. Lori is calling next from Michigan. Hi, Lori, you're on the air.
Hi, I wanted to tell you thank you for such a wonderful, the news is bad, but thank you for laying it all out for us to see, and it allows us to pray more. I guess you have more ability to pray because you know a little bit more about what's going on. Right. Yes, very dark days. We have a great Savior. Yeah. We know who wins in the end, but I also want to tell you I had been at our Bible study on Wednesday nights. We've been praying for Fetterman for years now, and we've watched him. And my family are in Pennsylvania, and they said, "Did he lose? What is going on with him? Has he lost his mind? He's doing things that are pro-Israel. He's going against his own party. Wow, what's going on?" I said, "Don't underestimate the power of prayer." Yeah. So I called his office today, and they were so thankful to hear from me to know that. We are praying. I said my family's praying in Pennsylvania, but I said we're praying over here in Michigan as well for the senator. And they were so amazed. And I just appreciate that you put this news out and you remind us, be involved in thanking people when they do right and telling them when they do wrong in a kind and loving way, and then continuing to pray earnestly for them because we're supposed to be praying for our leaders.
Yeah, indeed.
So,
and you may, I don't know if you know or do not know this, but Senator Fetterman is hospitalized right now. He fell yesterday on a walk and was taken to a hospital in Pittsburgh, and they had an evaluation. They found a ventricular fibrillation flare-up, a heart rhythm disorder, and so they're treating him for that at this time as well. So I know your prayers are especially appreciated for him at this time.
Well, I had no idea, and it just seems like the Lord just said you need to call and just be kind and loving and tell them that you're praying for him, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
What I was saying, and they said, would you like to, can we take your name and stuff? I said, I'm sure he's busy with too many other things. Just know that we'll continue to pray for him. And they were like, thank you so much. I had no idea, but that just shows you how the Lord works in our lives.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome. God bless you.
And you as well. That was Lori calling from Michigan here. This was also interesting. South Carolina had an issue take place with pro-life activists. Conway, South Carolina, received the scare of a lifetime earlier this month. They're raising awareness about survivors of the abortion Holocaust, and confronted by a 79-year-old, a member of the church, St. Anne's, a longtime attorney in the town, informed them, "I've got a grenade for you," before pulling the device out of his pocket. Evidently, it was nothing but a dud, but county law enforcement arrived on the scene, took him into custody, facing 4 counts of threatening others with the use of a fake device, as these people were taking a stand for life. One last story today here, friends, from Gallup, and it is a 17-point drop in the percentage of U.S. adults who say religion is an important part of their daily life, from 66% in 2015 to 49% today, ranks among the largest Gallup has recorded in any country over any 10-year period. About half of Americans now say religion is not an important part of their daily life. Such large declines in religiosity are rare. Since 2007, only 14 out of more than 160 countries in the world poll have experienced drops of over 15 percentage points in religious importance over any 10-year period. I saw that story, and the first thing that popped in my mind, friends, the matter of eternity and the matter of what we're facing today is not about religion. It's about relationship. Relationship with Jesus Christ. Is he your Savior? Have you placed your trust in him? Friends, this world is not getting better, and it's not going to get better. It is going to get worse and worse, as Scripture foretells us. What's most important in life is that you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ as your Savior. Jesus Christ died for our sins. He was buried. He rose again the third day. That's the good news. Bearing our sin upon himself, taking our sin on the cross of Calvary, placing our faith and trust in him, we too can have everlasting life. And that's where the peace of God and peace with God comes from. Trust you'll do it today. Thank you for joining us today on the News Roundup. It's Friday, and the Lord's Day is coming. I trust you'll be in a Bible-believing, Bible-preaching local church this weekend. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.